Marissa sat on the edge of a small metal bed, her arms wrapped tightly around her two daughters. The room was cold, with gray walls and a small window that let in only a little sunlight. Outside the door, she could hear the quiet voices of other women and the soft footsteps of children moving around. This was a shelter for women and children with nowhere else to go. It wasn't home, but it was safe. And for now, that was enough. She looked down at her daughters, Lily, who was 7, and Mia, who was 5. They were both asleep, curled up, beside her like little kittens. Their hair was messy, their clothes were worn, but their faces were peaceful. Marissa stroked their hair gently. "My brave girls," she whispered. Life hadn't always been like this. A few years ago, Marissa had a home, a husband, and dreams. She had imagined a happy family, quiet dinners, bedtime stories, and warm hugs. But her husband changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. He started yelling, then throwing things, then hitting. The worst part wasn't even the pain, it was the fear. The way her girls jumped when they heard his voice. The way they hid behind her legs, too scared to speak. That was when she knew. She couldn't stay. She had to protect them. Leaving wasn't easy. She had no money, no job, and no family to turn to. But she packed a small bag, took her daughters by the hand, and ran. For 3 nights they slept in a bus station using their bag as a pillow. On the 4th day, a kind old woman noticed them and called a shelter. That was how they ended up here. The shelter was clean, but small. They shared a room with another woman and her son. The food was simple and the rules were strict, but there was warmth. The staff were kind. They smiled at the children, gave them crayons and paper, and listened when Marissa needed to talk. It wasn't perfect, but it was a place to start over. Every morning, Marissa woke up early. She helped the girls brush their teeth, comb their hair, and made sure they looked neat, even if their clothes were donated. She wanted them to feel proud, even in a place like this. "We may be in a shelter," she'd tell them, "but we are not broken. We are strong." The other women in the shelter often said how well-behaved her daughters were. "They're such good kids," one of them said. "So polite, so quiet." Marissa would smile and say thank you, but deep inside she knew the truth. Her girls weren't just well-behaved, they were healing. They had seen too much. They had heard too many things a child should never hear. That's why they didn't scream. That's why they listened so carefully. It was survival. Still, Marissa worked hard to bring joy into their lives. On good days, they would all sit on the floor and read picture books from the shelter's little library. On weekends, they'd go to the park if the weather was nice. Sometimes, Marissa would save a cookie from lunch just to surprise the girls later. Little things. But to them, it felt like magic. Marissa didn't have a job yet. She applied everywhere. She could. Cafes, stores, cleaning services. But nobody wanted to hire a woman with no recent work history and 2 small kids. Some days she came back from interviews and cried in the bathroom so the girls wouldn't see. But she never gave up. She kept applying, kept hoping, kept praying. Late at night, when the girls were asleep, Marissa would sit by the window and look up at the stars. She would think about the life she wanted. A small apartment, a steady job, maybe even love again. She wasn't sure if she believed in love anymore. After everything she had been through, it felt like a fantasy. But sometimes, she'd imagine someone kind, someone who didn't raise his voice, someone who could see her not as a failure but as someone worth choosing. She didn't need a fairy tale. She just wanted peace. She remembered once telling someone in the shelter, "I know I have nothing right now, but I'm not nothing. My children are good kids, and I know I can be a good wife. I just need someone to give us a chance." It felt strange to say those words out loud, but she meant them. She wasn't begging for a handout. She just wanted someone to see what was already there, her strength, her loyalty, her love. She had a lot to give, even if the world only saw her struggles. One day, after a group therapy session, one of the counselors pulled her aside. "Marissa," she said gently, "you're doing an amazing job. Your girls are thriving because of you, don't forget that. Marissa blinked back tears. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing them. The counselor smiled. You're not. They feel safe now. That's because of you. And one day someone will come along who sees all of this. The way you love. The way you fight. You're not invisible. Those words stayed with her, even on the bad days, especially on the bad days. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, things began to change. The shelter helped her get a small childcare grant. The girls were able to attend a free preschool program nearby. That gave Marissa more time to search for work. She started volunteering at a food pantry twice a week, not for money, but to keep herself active and build some references. The staff there liked her. They saw how organized and polite she was, how she always had a kind word for the other volunteers. And that was when she met him. It wasn't love at first sight. More like a quiet awareness. His name was Alex. He worked at the food pantry too, usually unloading boxes or helping elderly people carry their bags. He wasn't loud or flirty like some men. He was calm, with gentle eyes and a soft voice. Marissa noticed that he always said hello, always held the door open, and never stared at her like she was broken. They talked a little each day. First about the food deliveries, then about the weather, then about their favorite books. He asked questions, but never too many. She liked that. He didn't push. He just listened. One day, as they were restocking shelves, he said, "I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime?" Marissa froze for a second. No one had asked her that in years, not since before everything fell apart. Her heart beat fast. She almost said no. She almost told him, "I'm not ready. I have kids, I have a past." But then she looked at him. And for the first time, she saw someone who might just be different. She smiled, nervous but honest. "Okay," she said softly. "Coffee sounds nice." That night, she told her daughters, "Mommy met someone today. He seems kind." The girls didn't say much, but Lily looked up and said, "Is he like Dad?" Marissa shook her head quickly. "No, baby, he's nothing like that." She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know if this new beginning would turn into something real, but something inside her had shifted. A small light, a tiny spark. For the first time in a long, long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, someone could see her again. Not as a problem. Not as someone broken, but as a woman, as a mother, as a person worth loving, and that made her heart feel full again. Just a little. Just enough. Marissa had never expected to meet someone like Alex. Their first real conversation was simple, just two people talking while sorting food boxes at the community pantry. But for Marissa, it felt like a small miracle, a quiet moment of kindness in a world that had been so harsh to her. She wasn't sure if she was ready to trust again. After all, years of pain and disappointment had made her careful. She kept her heart guarded like a fragile treasure. But Alex was patient. He didn't rush her or push for more than she wanted to share. Over the next few weeks, their connection grew slowly. Alex came to the food pantry regularly, always smiling, gently when he saw Marissa and her daughters. Sometimes he brought small treats for the girls, like coloring books, crayons, or a little teddy bear. The girls, who were usually shy, started to look forward to his visits. Lily would hide behind Marissa's legs at first, but then slowly inch forward to take the crayons from his hands. Mia, the younger one, would giggle quietly when Alex made silly faces. Marissa watched all this, her heart softening in ways she hadn't expected. Alex never asked about her past. He didn't pry into the shelter or her ex-husband. Instead, he talked about everyday things, the weather, favorite movies, even silly jokes. It was a different kind of conversation for Marissa, one that didn't carry the weight of pain. She started to feel safe, and that was new. One afternoon, as they were closing up the pantry, Alex asked her if she wanted to get coffee. Marissa hesitated. It felt scary, like stepping into unknown territory. What if it didn't work out? What if she got hurt again? But there was something kind in his eyes that made her say yes. not because she was ready, but because she wanted to try. Their first date was simple. They went to a small cafe near the shelter. The girls stayed with a trusted friend for the evening. Marissa wore her best dress, the one she had bought with saved-up shelter money. Her hands trembled slightly as she sat across from Alex. But he made her laugh. He listened to her stories and he shared his own. They talked about dreams, hopes, and the little things that made life worth living. After that night, their meetings became more frequent. Sometimes Alex came to the shelter just to spend time with the girls, bringing small gifts and sitting patiently while they drew pictures. The girls, who had been so quiet and withdrawn, slowly began to smile more. Marissa saw how Alex didn't rush their affection. He waited for them to feel comfortable in their own time. For Marissa, this was something she had never imagined possible. She had spent so long feeling invisible, like the world only saw her as a woman with problems, a mother struggling to survive. But Alex saw her differently. He saw her strength, her kindness, the way she never gave up, even when everything was hard. He didn't judge her for the shelter or her past mistakes. Instead, he respected her. As weeks turned into months, Marissa found herself opening up more. She told Alex about the girls' favorite bedtime stories, her hopes for a better life, and the fears she kept hidden deep inside. He never made her feel weak or broken. Instead, he made her feel human. One evening, after a long day at the shelter, Marissa sat with Alex on a park bench. The girls played nearby, laughing under the soft glow of street lamps. Marissa looked at him and said, "I don't know if I'm ready for all of this. I'm scared, Alex. What if I can't be what you want?" Alex took her hand gently. "You don't have to be perfect. None of us are. I want to be with you, all of you, the past, the present, the future, your children, your dreams, your fears. I just want a chance." That simple promise gave Marissa hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she could have more than survival. She could have love, family, and peace. It wasn't an easy journey. There were days when doubt crept back in, when the pain of her past felt too heavy. But Alex was there, steady and patient, reminding her she was not alone. Marissa also began to notice changes in herself. She smiled more. She laughed more. She let herself dream again. The walls she had built around her heart started to crumble, piece by piece. Through it all, her daughters remained her greatest joy. She saw how they blossomed with Alex's kindness. She saw how Lily's eyes sparkled when he read to her, how Mia reached out for his hand when she was scared. It was clear to Marissa that this man wasn't just a friend. He was becoming part of their family. But she knew this was just the beginning. The road ahead was still long and there would be challenges. Yet, for the first time, Marissa felt ready to face them. Not alone, but with someone who truly cared. And that made all the difference. Marissa's life was beginning to change in ways she hadn't dared to hope for. Alex, the kind man she had met at the community food pantry, was becoming more than just a friend. He was becoming someone she trusted, someone who made her feel seen and valued again. But Marissa knew the road ahead would not be simple. There was one very important step she had to take: introducing Alex to her daughters. Her girls, Lily and Mia, had been through so much. They had seen their world fall apart when their father became angry and hurtful. Since escaping that painful life, they had grown quiet and careful, always watching and listening for danger. Marissa wanted to protect them at all costs. Introducing a new man into their lives felt like a big risk. What if they didn't like him? What if he didn't like them? What if this chance for happiness slipped away? One evening after dinner, Marissa sat down with Alex in the small living room of the shelter where they stayed. The girls were playing quietly nearby, their heads bent over coloring books. Marissa took a deep breath. "Alex," she began carefully, "I want you to meet Lily and Mia. But I need you to understand something. They're my world. They're good kids, quiet, polite, well-behaved. They've been through a lot, and I raised them the best I could. This isn't just about me, it's about them too." Alex nodded, his face serious but kind. I understand, Marissa. I want to meet them whenever you're ready. No rush. The next Sunday, Alex showed up at the shelter with a bag full of gifts. Inside were coloring books, crayons, and a soft teddy bear for Mia. The girls peeked from behind Marissa at first, unsure of the strange man who had suddenly appeared, but Alex didn't rush them. He knelt down to their level, smiled warmly, and spoke in a soft voice. Hi, Lily. Hi, Mia. I brought some new coloring books for you. Would you like to pick one? Slowly, the girls moved closer. Lily was the first to take a coloring book, her small hands shaking a little. Mia clung to Marissa, but when Alex pulled out the teddy bear, her face lit up with a shy smile. Marissa watched, her heart pounding with hope and fear all at once. Could this be the start of something good? Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular visitor. He came to the shelter not just to see Marissa, but to spend time with the girls. He was patient and gentle, never forcing affection or rushing them to open up. He helped Lily with her homework and told Mia funny stories that made her laugh. The girls began to smile more, to feel safer, to trust again. Marissa was amazed and grateful. She had met many men before who said they loved children, but when faced with the reality, they turned away. Alex was different. He stayed. He showed up. He cared. One afternoon, as they sat together in the shelter's small playroom, Marissa looked at Alex and said, "Thank you for not giving up on us. I don't know if I ever told you how scared I am, how much I worry about the future." Alex reached out and took her hand gently. "I'm here, Marissa. We'll face it together. You and your daughters. We're a team now." That moment felt like a turning point. Marissa realized she could trust him, not just with her heart but with her family. She no longer felt alone. Still, there were challenges. Marissa struggled with self-doubt and guilt. She worried that her past would scare Alex away. She wondered if she could be the wife and mother her daughters needed. But Alex always reminded her of her strength. One evening, after putting the girls to bed, Marissa shared her fears. "I don't know if I'm enough, if I can give you the life you deserve." Alex smiled softly. "You are more than enough. You've already done so much, and I want to be there with you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real." Marissa's heart ached with gratitude. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a happy future. As months passed, the bond between Alex and the girls grew stronger. They called him by his name at first, then one day Lily said quietly, "Can we call you Dad?" Alex's eyes filled with tears. "If you want," he said, pulling them into a warm hug. That simple moment filled Marissa's heart with hope. She knew the road ahead would still have bumps, but with Alex by their side, she believed they could overcome anything. Together, they were building a new family, one full of love, trust, and second chances. Marissa's days had become brighter in ways she never expected. The shelter, once a place of uncertainty and struggle, was slowly becoming a home filled with laughter and hope. Alex was now a regular part of their lives, not just for Marissa, but for Lily and Mia too. The girls had started to trust him, and that trust felt like a precious gift to Marissa, something she had prayed for in the darkest nights. Still, life was not without its difficulties. The shelter had strict rules, and space was limited. Privacy was a luxury they did not have. Every day was a balancing act, trying to keep the girls happy, manage her responsibilities, and build a future. Marissa woke early, cooked simple meals, helped the girls with their schoolwork, and searched for job opportunities. Sometimes the exhaustion felt overwhelming, but the smile on her daughters' faces and Alex's quiet support gave her strength. One afternoon, Marissa received a phone call from a local social service office. They had a program to help women like her find affordable housing. It was a chance to move out of the shelter and start fresh in a small apartment. The news filled her, with hope and fear at the same time. Moving meant change, and change was scary. But staying in the shelter forever was not an option. She wanted a real home for her family, a place where the girls could grow without fear. With Alex's encouragement, Marissa applied for the program. The waiting list was long, and the process slow, but she held on to the hope that soon they would have a place to call their own. In the meantime, Alex helped more around the shelter. He took the girls to the park on weekends, taught Lily how to ride a bike, and fixed the little things that broke around their room. Marissa watched these moments with a full heart. She saw her daughters smiling, laughing freely, and growing stronger. She saw herself healing piece by piece, and she saw Alex, steady, kind, patient, becoming the family they all needed. But the past was never far away. Sometimes Marissa would have nightmares. She'd wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, afraid the pain would return. Sometimes the girls would cry softly, scared by a loud noise or a sudden shadow. Those moments reminded her of how fragile their peace still was. One evening, after a long day, Marissa sat with Alex in the dim light of their small room. "I worry," she confessed, her voice trembling. "What if this happiness doesn't last? What if the past catches up with us?" Alex took her hands in his. "We can't control the past, Marissa, but we can build the future. Together, we have each other now." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. Finally, after months of waiting, the call came. A small 2-bedroom apartment was available. It was modest, with a creaky floor and thin walls, but it was theirs. Marissa could hardly believe it. She packed their few belongings with trembling hands, helped the girls say goodbye to the shelter friends, and stepped out into the world with Alex by her side. The apartment was quiet, but warm. The girls claimed their own rooms, decorating walls with drawings and stickers. Marissa cooked meals in the tiny kitchen, feeling a sense of pride she hadn't felt in years. For the first time, she allowed herself to dream of a future where her daughters could grow up safe, loved, and free. Alex helped her settle in, fixing shelves, hanging curtains, and making the place feel like home. They talked about their dreams. School, for the girls, a steady job for Marissa, maybe even a small garden on the balcony. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. One night, after the girls were asleep, Alex looked at Marissa and said, "I want to take the next step. I want to be more than just someone who cares. I want to be your partner, your family." Marissa's heart swelled with emotion. She knew the road ahead would still have challenges. There would be moments of doubt, fear, and struggle. But with Alex with her daughters, she felt ready. She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I'm ready. Let's build our future together." That night, under the soft glow of their small apartment, Marissa felt something she hadn't in a long time. Hope. Real hope, and it was beautiful. Marissa had come a long way from the days when her life felt like a never-ending storm. The small apartment they now called home was filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of belonging she never thought possible. Alex was no longer just a kind man who had shown up at the food pantry. He was her partner, her support, the steady hand she could hold on to when life seemed hard. But more than that, he had become a loving father to Lily and Mia, a presence in their lives that brought comfort and joy. It hadn't been easy to get to this point. The years of struggle, pain, and fear had left marks on all of them. Marissa knew the road ahead still held challenges. There were moments when the weight of the past pressed down on her, threatening to pull her back into darkness. But with Alex by her side, she felt stronger. She felt ready to face whatever came next. One quiet morning, Marissa woke early, watching the soft sunlight spill through the curtains. She smiled as she heard the gentle voices of Lily and Mia playing in the next room. The sound was like music, to her ears, a reminder of how far they had come. She moved through the small apartment, preparing breakfast. Alex was already up, reading a book at the tiny kitchen table. When he looked up and saw her, his eyes lit up with warmth. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning," Marissa replied, feeling a calm happiness settle in her chest. Over breakfast, they talked about the day ahead. Marissa had an interview for a job at a local daycare center, a chance to work with children and provide a better life for her family. Alex promised to watch the girls while she went. They made plans to celebrate if she got the job, dreaming aloud about the future. The hours that followed felt long and full of nervous hope. Marissa dressed carefully, smoothing her hair and straightening her clothes. She wanted to make a good impression, not just for herself, but for her daughters and Alex. She wanted to show the world that she was more than her past, that she was a woman ready to build a new life. The interview went well. Marissa answered the questions with honesty and warmth, sharing her love for children and her desire to create a safe, happy space for them. When she left, she felt a flicker of hope that maybe this was the beginning of something new. Back at the apartment, Alex and the girls greeted her with smiles and hugs. They sat together that evening, eating a simple meal and talking about their day. Marissa told them about the interview, and Lily and Mia clapped their hands excitedly, proud of their mother. As the days passed, Marissa continued to work hard, applying to more jobs and taking care of the girls. Alex was always there, helping with homework, fixing things around the apartment, and reminding Marissa that she was not alone. His quiet strength was a steady anchor in her life. One afternoon, as Marissa was tucking the girls into bed, Lily looked up at her mother with big eyes. "Mom, do you think we'll always be happy like this?" Marissa hugged her tightly. "I hope so, sweetie. We'll work hard and take care of each other. That's what makes a family strong." Mia snuggled close, and Marissa kissed their foreheads, feeling a deep love she had never known before. Then came the day when Marissa received a call from the daycare center. They wanted to offer her the job. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she shared the news with Alex and the girls. They celebrated with laughter and hugs, knowing this was a step toward a better future. The months that followed were full of small victories. Marissa's job gave her confidence and stability. The girls flourished in school, their smiles growing brighter every day. Alex continued to be the loving partner and father they needed, always patient, always kind. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Alex took Marissa's hand and said, "I want us to be a real family, to build a life where we all feel safe, loved, and happy." Marissa nodded, her heart full. "I want that too." Together they talked about their dreams, saving for a bigger home, traveling somewhere new, maybe even adopting a pet. Their future was no longer a distant hope but a real possibility. Despite the challenges that still came, bills to pay, worries about the past, the everyday struggles of life, Marissa felt a deep peace. She had learned that family was not about perfection but about love and support. It was about standing together through hard times and celebrating the good ones. Looking at Alex and her daughters, Marissa knew she had found something precious. They had given each other a second chance, a chance to heal, to grow, and to love. And that chance was everything. In the quiet moments before sleep, Marissa whispered a thank you to the universe for bringing Alex into their lives, for giving her children a father who loved them, and for giving her the strength to believe in happiness again. Their story was far from over. But now, Marissa faced the future with hope, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. And that made all the difference.